You've been there, right? You're in a room, there's this brilliant idea, this beautiful design, everyone is buzzing. But then, somewhere between that whiteboard and the real world, poof, it all just falls apart. And the hard truth is, most great ideas don't fail because they're not valuable. They fail because the execution completely breaks down.
And this question right here is where the first crack appears. The team agrees on the big picture, the values are all laid out, but then someone asks this simple, totally unavoidable question, and bam! Suddenly, everyone in the room has a completely different answer. This is the fracture point. So, how do we build a bridge over these cracks before they even start to form? Let's get into it.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the execution problem itself. Then we'll bust some common myths about what service design is. After that, we'll get to the heart of it, service design as a real methodology. We'll walk through a framework to get from alignment to action, see why this is absolutely critical with AI, and then we'll finish up with the exact language you can use to change the whole conversation.
Okay, first up, the execution problem. This is that painful spot where a single unified vision just splinters into a dozen competing priorities, and all that initial excitement, well, it just kind of fizzles out.
Man, does this sound familiar? This is like the classic red flag of an execution failure. You probably hear other stuff too, right? Like, the principles are great, but the exceptions are constantly breaking the system. Or, yeah, but if we build it that way, the costs just don't work. These aren't really design failures. They're structural failures.
And here's the thing. This happens for a really simple reason. It's not about bad intent. Nobody's the villain here. Your UX teams are doing exactly what they should be doing, fighting for the user. And your operations and business teams are also doing their jobs too, focusing on keeping things sustainable and hitting their numbers. The real problem is the total absence of a shared methodology to bridge these perfectly valid but totally conflicting goals.
So, to find that methodology, we first got to clear up some major confusion around the term service design itself. Because honestly, most people get it wrong. So let's be super clear about what it isn't.
First off, service design is not just a philosophy. It's not some vague, high-level way of thinking about being customer-centric. It's way, way more concrete than that.
Second, it is not a value manifesto. A piece of paper that says you put users first is nice, but values on paper don't execute themselves. You need a mechanism to make them real.
And finally, while it definitely uses tools like service blueprints, the methodology itself is not just about making a diagram. The blueprint is the output, not the process. It's the artifact that proves you've actually reached a solid agreement. Okay, so if it's not any of those things, what in the world is it? This brings us to the core idea of this whole explainer. Understanding service design is a powerful, really practical methodology for execution.
Now listen to this definition because it's so precise. It's a methodology for structuring conflicting values. It's not about creating the values. It's about giving them a structure. It assumes conflict is going to happen, and it gives you a way to manage it so the whole system can be run over and over again. This right here, this is the game changer.
This whole methodology is built on three super simple realities. Number one, the core values are probably already on the table. Number two, conflicts between them aren't just possible, they're unavoidable. And number three, this is the key. Structure isn't just a pretty diagram. It is the active mechanism you build to manage those conflicts in the real world.
So if that's the what, how do we actually do it? Let's get practical and look at a framework that turns all that abstract alignment into concrete action.
Think of this whole process like building a bridge. It has three key pillars. It starts with value alignment, which is all about getting explicit answers to the really tough questions. Then you move to structuring, where you translate those answers into roles for people, processes, and technology. And finally, operationalization. That's where you lock it all down into a concrete, executable design.
In that first phase, alignment, the quality of your questions is everything. You have to force clarity on stuff like, what is the absolute promise we're making to our users? What specifically is the business on the hook for? And where exactly do we draw the line between machine automation and human judgment? Answering these things up front saves you so much chaos down the line. And as you move into the structuring phase, this principle is your North Star. It's so easy to draw a perfect workflow on a whiteboard, right? But the real test is this. Can this structure survive the messiness of the real world day after day with real people and real constraints? If the answer is no, it's a fantasy, not a structure.
Now, let's talk about why this whole conversation has become more critical than ever before. And the reason is simple: artificial intelligence. Because AI doesn't just accelerate execution, it accelerates failure at a terrifying speed.
So what you're looking at here is the new tension. AI is amazing at executing rules and automating tasks at a massive scale. But in doing that, it creates all these new and totally unexpected edge cases, and it can really blur the lines of who's accountable for what. This puts a ton of pressure on the humans who are left to manage the exceptions, right at the points where the rules break down. Without a clear structure, that's just a recipe for disaster.
So how can you start putting this into practice? The best place to start is by just changing the language you use. Real pros know that execution clarity starts with asking better questions. Here are 3 you can literally use in your very next meeting.
So, when someone in a meeting states a high-level value, like, "We want this to be a seamless experience," you ask this question. It immediately forces the conversation to move from some abstract ideal to a concrete operational rule. What action, what policy actually delivers on that promise?
This question, this is the stress test. It pushes the team to think beyond the perfect best-case scenario and actually consider the pressures of daily use, of staff turnover, of unexpected inputs. It is the ultimate reality check for any design you come up with. And finally, this is the question of sustainability and just basic human decency. A system might look super efficient on paper, but if it gets that efficiency by burning out your employees or frustrating your customers, it is a failed structure, period. This question makes that hidden human cost visible.
Okay, let's bring it all home. Service design, when you really get it, isn't about debating values. It's the engineering discipline that prevents our execution from betraying them. It's the bridge that connects a great idea to a sustainable reality. So the only question left is, where are you going to build that bridge first?